Hey, how's it going? Joe, Arnesis Sarcastic with Hyperloops here. So I made 2 attempts at doing vlogs after Nova, but my phone and phone call interruptions kept cutting those short, and I was losing massive amounts of time. So I'm on one of my drives right now, so we're gonna try this again, and hopefully I can, go through all the stuff. So the first thing I wanted to go over was that at Nova, the original printed structure was supposed to be 7 rounds, cut to top 16. I want to say that the expectation of people to show up was somewhere in the run, like 150 to 180 and some change. I believe that's what they capped the attendance at. So 1 second, I'm not moving, so I'm just going to adjust this. So 7 rounds would have been Swiss -1 based on those numbers. So it's kind of like along the Gen Con lines where if they expected that amount, it should have been 1 more. Anyways, so get to the event, do the sign up and stuff, and we're all waiting around. I think it's like an extra 5 or 10 minutes they wait. Not a problem, same as normal. But prior to round 1 starting, they decide to announce that it's going to be an 8-round event and it cut to top 8. This being contrary to what they printed is kind of one of those things that I immensely dislike. I guess if it was 8-round cut to top 16, I wouldn't complain about it. But if someone had a specific train or flight to make based on something, like that would screw them over as well. So in general, I think if they're going to print something, they need to try to stick to it, or at least if they change it, it needs to be in the favor of the players. And a 8-round cut to top 8, in my view, is not in favor of the players, because you're changing the overall structure. So just to get some basic numbers out of the way, a 7-round cut to top 16 is going to miss about 9 players that are X and 2. An 8-round cut to top 8 is going to miss like 8 players that are X and 2. So it's very close from that standpoint, but you have to take into consideration that if you had made the top 16 for 7 rounds, when you go into the new tournament, it's best of 3. So you would have had better chances of staying in based on play skill or deck construction instead of the one and done format of Swiss. So it's pretty annoying when it's stuff like that. So the thing is, I missed top cut and I lost 2 rounds, so I can't complain to anyone but myself. And it's one of those situations where I'm complaining and essentially whining about this from the tournament shouldn't be changed point of view, and not I should have been in top cut. As soon as I get two losses, I've been of the entire mindset the entire time is that I don't deserve to be there. If I make it, that's fine. I'm luck based on strength of schedule, or maybe I went, like Gen Con, I went 6-0 and then lost the last 2 rounds, but because I went 6-0, my breakers are ridiculous, and that's fine. But I really just dislike the change, because in general, I made the trip there because I had pre-bought the tickets before, but there wasn't much for me to gain. The winner gets a flight to Worlds and a reserved spot and a buy in the hotel room, but I already have those, so I can't get them again. Meaning, the top prize, which is in this game, is very top heavy because that's the only one that really matters, wasn't gonna do anything for me. Meaning, I'm going to hang out with people and see what's going on and try to repeat, but a top 8, I very well would have just sold my ticket and moved on. It's frustrating from that standpoint of view. 1 second, I'm opening a window because it's getting hot in here. Hopefully it's not too much wind noise. So I don't like it from that point. I don't like when they change the stuff, and it's whatever. We ended up with only 111 people, by the way, so it wasn't like they went 8 rounds because they had that many people. Regular Swiss standards 7 round is 128. so that was fine. And it just got changed because they felt like it. In general, I got 11th place at the end of round 7. I had 12th place at the end of round 8. Apparently all the people that were playing for my tiebreakers didn't do so well that last round, and it's kind of unfortunate, but it happens. But yeah, so that was that. There was a small snafu in the first round where the system, I guess, crashed and they lost all of the pairings and winners. So they recovered pretty well from there. They got the stuff up and going, but then they had to recollect the winners and losers. And they had gave the like lunch or dinner break, whatever you want to call it at that time, instead of being after round 4, which is what their intent was. So it was a little tough from that standpoint, but life is life. So there were some interesting things going on in general. That, like, there was an Emperor tournament and a free-for-all tournament, and I've never been one to partake in most of the casual structure events. I ended up playing the Emperor event because a friend, Josh, had purchased a ticket not knowing that it was the entire team's ticket, and he didn't have a team, so we ended up playing with him. There was a dilemma where in the rules it didn't say we can't run the same character lineups. We were going full on mill. I had talked about it on the Discord with the patrons, and we had Emaz, Padme, Snap for all 3 decks. So I guess one of the players prior to the event starting had asked, hey, what's the deal with character lineups? Can we all run like the same guy? And they told them no, then told the other teams no, but didn't tell us anything. And we were in the same room, but either they made some sort of announcement, and just no one was none of our group knew. I would have immediately told them, like, it doesn't say that in the printed structure, and then they claimed that it needed to go by the regular ruling document, and it's inferred. But the regular ruling document said actually each player is allowed to have one of that unique and then one of that unique in play. So if I had brought that up originally, that this may not have become an issue, because essentially what ended up happening is they called our deck illegal. The opponent had 3 Imperial Inspections in their deck. Their deck was illegal for round 1. So we had played out the match. They had won by 1 card, but the Imperial Inspection, he'd cast 2 near the beginning, and it was just ruining us. So it was very tough. We ended up die rolling to see who won, so there's no feel bad moment there. And then another team ended up having both Sith Lord Vader and the Apprentice Vader on separate in their group, which also violated the rules based on what they had said. We had altered our decks at that point to try to make things happen. We ended up getting a bye. We won the last round. We got 3rd place. Did not get any of the Stormtroopers, which were kind of sad. But then, because there was the Throne Room, which is a pretty amazing promo. Like, that should have been the promo for Get BB-8. BB-8 looks amazing, but it's not really playable. The Throne Room is insane. A lot of people saw me selling those online and then selling the Spyglass Stormtrooper. So we ended up coming back for the free-for-all. I had to bow out in the middle of round 2 of a 3-round event because my group was going home. We were all driving back, so did that. One of my friends topped, or he got 3rd place and got a Stormtrooper. Another one I think got 1st or 2nd. So I was pretty happy for them. But those promos were so much better than the national ones. It's crazy. I think everyone and their mom would want the Throne Room, and it's pretty limited. That they're only going for, I think, 40 or 50 right now, so it's not bad. I was selling them with the combo package with the BB-8s because we were getting them at the same time, but neither here nor there. So I thought the extra events were interesting. There were some lots of quirky rulings in the multiplayer format that hopefully they get down at some point, but they definitely need to clarify better on specific things in the print, or stick to the print beforehand, because there was a lot of time spent for deck building and whatnot. But overall, the Nova was enjoyable in general, but let's get to deck stuff. I didn't bother paying attention to any of the top 8 because I was too busy trying to build those decks for, 1 second, I think there's police. You can hear the sirens, guys. So yeah, I didn't pay attention to any of top 8 because I was too busy trying to cobble the decks together for the multiplayer Emperor format. So the finals ended up being a Rainbow Mirror match, which is always interesting. But so Rainbow wins, and I believe it was Nick. I do not recall his last name that won, but it's kind of amazing how quiet everything's been about the Nova win in the top 8. Like there were 2 Poe Maz decks, 1 Poe Ray deck, 4 Rainbow 9 decks, and 1 E-Kylo FN Stormtrooper. So top 4 was clearly 2 Rainbows, and I would assume like a Poe Maz and maybe the Kylo Trooper. I know Kowal was playing Rainbow, and I think he lost top 8. So there weren't too many other ones, and there may have been like a Poe Mirror. I honestly didn't pay attention too much. But Rainbow 9, clearly very great, especially when piloted by good players. Not so much when not piloted by good players. So yeah, my 2 losses in general were to Poe Maz. I lost to Brian, who I played in top 4 at Gen Con. He pretty much just stomped me in. There was a point where he had the option to either Duggan or Planetary, and he chose to Duggan instead of casting the Planetary, and that won in the game because I ended up bursting Poe, but the 3 extra health had it survive, so that won the game right there. It was a very great play of his, and I don't think everybody would have taken it, so kudos to him. In round 3, I lost to E-Kylo Stormtrooper FN. I bursted down FN round 2, killed the Kylo, and then it was an FN versus Stormtrooper, but my FN had 4 health left, and the Stormtrooper had, I think, 3 or 4 as well. What ended up occurring is I cut a flank for an additional doubt, and then I cut an F11D for a Vibro Knuckler. And at the end of the game, I'm sitting there pretty much with the flanks and 2 doubts. And he rolls out 3 for a resource, a 2 and a 1. And I flank the 3 away. He does the 3 to hit me down to 1 health. His Stormtrooper had a 2 showing. And then I doubt the 2. He hits damage side and my guy dies. If he had missed that, I'd end up winning. If my doubt was a flank that I had cut, I would win that match. It happens. I move on. Don't cut flanks. Anyways, so FFG had done a like pretty much beat them win a pack thing going. Sorry, pack of EAW. So a lot of people are all about that, and there were some very good decks there. They had some jank. So like they had like a 3 Gamorrean Guard deck, and there was like I think a Seventh Sister Magna Guard deck that did like cool tricks. But the big ones that people were regretting life against were Thrawn Unkar and Hera vehicles, or Hera Maz vehicles. They had used Rookie Pilot as the 3rd character. In general, I would consider Ezra, just for the additional resource / disrupt side that he has going. Plus he has 1/2 and isn't nearly as bad as Rookie Pilot, who requires a base side to go with. But either way, it doesn't really matter. So they were crushing people with those, and then Thrunkar was, I guess, demolishing Rainbow 9s. There was a point where people were playing like Vadergar versus Thrunkar, and there's a card called, I believe, Coercion. It costs 1, and it's yellow villain, and you look at your opponent's hand, pick an event, and you make them play it. if they can. So there was like a lone Big Daddy Vader, and he had a Price of Failure his own guy and lose. Pretty brutal. But so those two decks are clearly going to be very, very good come this format, and we may even see where Pol Maz pretty much Pol Maz and Rainbow Nines doesn't end up taking a nerf, just because those decks can possibly flatten them. Like Thrumcar is probably going to mess with Rainbow Nines and Pol Maz a ton, because they're just very specific situations where if you coercion and then have them cast stuff that doesn't do anything, so like they ended up shocking their own die, like that's going to be huge. Or just being able to take out the thermals from their hand, or like just screwing around with hand is very detrimental to decks that need to maintain or like throw things. And both FN and Po are all about chucking cards from their hand, and then, you know, adjusting it appropriately. So we'll see how that goes. The new Phasma is insane. I'm testing her right now with 2 die with Anakin, and then Phasma's 1 die with Sith Lord Vader, and running leaderships to, you know, tap Phasma to untap Vader, re-get additional discards, and hit very large amounts of damage. Right now I still have Price of Failure in the deck, but those are probably coming out just because Coercion's going to mess with it. But I'm leaving them in for the quote-unquote 2-week meta, which is going to probably be for UK Nationals as well as Canada Nationals, where the starter decks are legal, but like EAW won't be legal because it won't be out in time. Canada Nationals is not guaranteed to have the starters be legal. It's based on when Canada gets the stuff, and it needs to be 11 days. So there's plenty of time. We'll see how that goes. There's also, you know, Kylo Phasma, stuff like that, but that's neither here nor there. Like, Kylo's going to be very good at screwing people from running monocolor decks, but I think if he's playing against like a 3-color deck, his ability whiffing is going to be pretty bad, because his die sides are still not super amazing. But like Crossguard Lightsaber is very good with him. So gonna go back to the grind, build some decks, see how everything's going, and try to find the new IT deck. I think I'll still work on Rainbow Nines for a bit, because the preview card we had was pretty nutty. Being able to essentially salvo off of the own weapon die because of its action can be crazy. Because if you hit the +3, you're just like, all right, I'll pay 2 and essentially treat it as a thermal and not give up my die. And then you can roll out, you know, generate possibly more resources and do it again. Like, that can be very, very good. Thrumcar is going to be kind of scary, but we'll see how that goes. Because there's that buyout card. It costs 0, and you pay X resources and mill your opponent X cards, which is equal to the number of resources you paid. So, that's it for the most part, I think. There's Tabletop Simulator Season 3 coming up. We're supposed to have something cool going on with that. We're donating some stuff as sponsorship for it. So I'd definitely check into details and see what's going on. Trying to think if there's anything else. Big shout outs to, you know, the group of players I've been playing with and testing with. You know, it's nice to see people do well, and, you know, let's continue the efforts to get to Worlds, and probably Set 4 will be out by then, so it'll probably be a big change. But EAW is coming, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Trying to think anything else. Nope. But where are these deck lists for Nova, man? Gotta have these deck lists, right? But no one's saying nothing. Alright. Honestly, sarcastic from the Hyperloops. See ya.